Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Motivation Monday. I'm Maurice Williams. I'm the founder of JobMorph, and I think I've been doing this for several years now, where I try to spend every single Monday, trying to get everybody to sort of have a great week, right? And get remotivated and refocused with whatever is your goal for the week. Most of the people who join me on these events are job seekers, people who are out there, looking for their dream jobs. And so I spent a lot of time kind of talking specifically to them and to what may or may not be going on in terms of their job search. And I think, it all really always starts with, wanting to make a change. That's why I call the company JobMorph, because it's really about helping people make changes in their lives and their jobs. And, it starts with that realization that you want to make a change. And from there, most of us are highly motivated. We're pretty excited. We've made this commitment to ourselves that we're going to make this big change. And usually our motivation is at its highest point right after that decision. Right? That's usually the peak, if you will, of our motivation. And as time goes on, we kind of start falling from the peak of motivation downward a bit. Someone described it as like being at the top, like imagining a clock. And when we first launch our quest, both hands are pointing upwards at 12, right? Think of it that way. And as time goes on, it starts to drift downwards, right? It starts to drift downwards. And, our motivation starts to drift a little bit. And so a week into it, we have a little less motivation than we did on the very first day. And sometimes 2 weeks later, we have even a little less motivation. 4 weeks later, a little less motivation. And, it keeps kind of drifting downward for a while there. If we're not careful, right, eventually it ends up where we give up, right? Our motivation, we stop being motivated and we stop taking action and we stop doing anything to achieve our goal. And this is the story that many of us have faced, not just in search of finding our dream job, but in search of any goal that we set for ourselves. Once the minute we set it, right, we're super excited and super filled with joy and enthusiasm and drive. And then as the days go by, the weeks go by, maybe the months go by, we start drifting downward in terms of our motivation. And with that drift downwards comes sometimes us stopping to do the things that get our results, right? So we know that in order to achieve our dream job, we have to make some applications, right? We have to apply and we have to adjust our resume and we have to prepare a cover letter. And we have to do a little research about the companies that we're applying to so we do well on the application. Like we know that, but we sort of stop doing all of those things. And we stop networking and we stop following up on our applications. We stop following up on the interviews we've had. We stop following up on the networking contacts we've made. We essentially, drift downwards in terms of activity, and our results show it, right? Because it's kind of logical that if you don't make any activities towards your goals, if you don't take any steps toward the goal, if you don't invest any time in achieving the goal, that you won't get results. I mean, that's kind of the truth, isn't it? That to get the results, you have to take the actions. That the results are a consequence, if you will, of actions, right? That results aren't about like wishing and dreaming and hoping. That results are actually the output, if you will, of action. And if you're not taking any action, it's impossible to get results. So what we've got to do is to keep our actions up, right? We've got to We got to take action towards our results. And one way to take action towards our results is to be very clear on a daily basis, what results, what actions are we expecting to have? What are the actions that we expect to do today so that we get the results of tomorrow? And I always say that the best thing to do is to sit down and come up with 4 or 5 actions per day for your results. I find more than that kind of gets a little overwhelming. You know, if you have 44 actions you have to take every day in order to get results, well, it's probably going to be hard to keep up with that. But if you can sort of settle into an idea of there are these 5 actions that I need to take today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day that will yield me my results, and I need to focus myself on achieving these 5 actions every single day so that I can get those results that I want, you're more likely to stick with it. And with job searching, the 5 actions really are quite simple, right? It's the first one is to apply to positions that you really want, where you're mostly a fit, right? That's the first action that we need to take. The second action is to follow up on those applications, these interviews, those networking events. The third is to network. Somewhere between 50 to 75% of people actually find their dream job through networking. And when you network as well as apply, you increase the likelihood that you'll have multiple job offers. And that's the strongest place to be in terms of salary negotiation, is having multiple job offers. So like 3 of those steps are really apply, follow up, and network. Those are the 3 of the 5 things that you really need to do on a daily basis in order to achieve results. And what are results? Are interviews. So the 4th thing I always stress that people should do is to practice daily your interviewing, to enhance your interview skills, because we don't want to cram the night before an interview or the morning of an interview. We want to strengthen our skills every single week. So when we have that interview, we're ready to perform, we're ready to be successful. And quite honestly, you can't get better at most things in life just by cramming. If you want to become a good golfer, you don't get there by going out the hour before you play a game and practicing. You get there by practicing every week, maybe several times a week, in order until you improve your skill. And this is the same for any sport, for any hobby, right? For any talent, right? Practicing is part of how you develop your strength. You don't just cram. You don't just cram. So, an activity that one should do on the daily, if you're trying to find your dream job, is interview practice, right? So those are 4 things. And then the 5th thing that I always stress to people is that you have to have some method where you're keeping yourself accountable. We don't really achieve goals without some accountability. Like, I want you to think about something for a second about your job. You're surrounded by mechanisms in your job to keep you accountable. You have bosses and meetings and goals and quarterly reports and daily reports and dashboards. All of these things are there to keep you accountable, to keep you achieving your results. Let me be honest with you. If corporate America had figured out that they could get results without all of that stuff around people, they would have done it a long time ago, cut all that out. But the reality is that we know, organizations know, that people need someone to keep them accountable. That's why they need a boss or supervisor. That people need a team. That people need visibility on their goals. Right? That is an important thing to helping people achieve results. And that's how come when you're chasing something like a dream job, you do need accountability tools. You need a coach to check in with weekly. You need a sort of job searching Fitbit. I know this because I've helped thousands and thousands of people, and I can see the huge impact it can have when you have accountability as part of the formula. So really on the daily, It's about accountability. It's about follow-up. It's about networking. It's about applications, and it's about practicing interviewing. There's really 5 things that have to happen on the daily in order for you to get the results you want, which is the interviews for those jobs that you dream of. Right? And I think keeping ourselves aware of these are the 5 things that we need to do and checking in with ourselves, it's just about, it's a little after 1, right? And so for most of us, the Eastern time, it's a little bit after 1 Eastern time. For most of us, half the day is about done, right? And so and for some of you, half the day is just about to start, right? So asking yourself, like, how am I doing halfway through the day? Am I focused on the 5 things that really matter for me to achieve the results I'm after? How's my day gone so far? And making an adjustment midday, because there's plenty of time left to adjust, right? There's plenty of time left to reboot and get back on track, right? It's only halfway through the day. And for some of you, like I said, at the beginning of your day. But checking in with yourself more than once through the day also can help you stay focused, right? So it's really about that. And what we're trying to do with this activity, right? What we're trying to do with the networking is drive interviews. What we're trying to do with the applications is drive interviews. Why we're practicing our interviews? Because we want to be ready for those interviews, right? Why are we following up? So that we can drive interviews. Why are we holding ourselves accountable? So we can drive interviews. The whole objective here isn't on how many applications you submit. It's on how many interviews you generate. And so that's where our activity is all geared toward. It's geared toward driving interviews. There's a lot of things that we can get caught up doing that don't drive up interviews. And so we want to minimize those activities and maximize the activities that drive interviews, right? And since we've been practicing our interviewing on the daily basis, when those interviews come, we'll be able to do well during the interview. We might have to prepare a little bit, but most of our skills will be in place, ready to go when it's time for an interview, right? And that is really the key to it all, right? It's about 5 things that we have to do to get the results that we want. And I would say to you, the motivation piece, the reason that I check in with you every single Monday is to remind you that this is all possible and achievable so long as you stay focused and you don't really give up. I know sometimes it's tempting to give up. Every dream I've had in my life, every goal that I've had, there have been many, many, many times where I wanted to give up. I am sure if you think about anything that you've achieved in your life, anything that you're proud of accomplishing, there were times, maybe many, many times, when you wanted to give up. And you and I both know that had you given up during those times, then you wouldn't have achieved the goal. So the key to all of this is always to stay firm in chasing the goal, right? We can all have a drift a little bit, right? We all go off our diet a little bit. We go away from our exercise a little bit. We go away from our job search a little bit. Other goals, our financial goals, we go a little bit away from it. It doesn't matter if they drift off, so long as we jump back into it, right? But when we really give up, walk completely away from it, give up everything, right? That's when nothing can happen. And so I'm here every week to try to help you stay focused so that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. You guys have a great week ahead. And those are my dogs saying hello. One is north and one is south. And I think they're chasing something. They found something and they're chasing it around the house. So have a good day and a great week. Take care, you guys. Bye-bye.